Hello. So today I want to talk to you about the Hart and Dworkin debate. Um, it takes different perspective from the Hart and Fuller debate. All right. Last time I spoke to you about the Hart and Fuller. In the Hart and Fuller debate, the central focus of the debate is whether law should be viewed as law as it is or law as it ought to be. In the debate with Dworkin, the heart of the debate is similar to that with Fuller, right? It takes a slightly different view in the debate of law and moral. The Hart and Dworkin debate focuses on the idea of plain fact theory, internal interpretation, and the principle within legal theories. So, Professor Herbert Lionel Adolphus Hart of the Oxford University took the view of supporting legal positivism, where law is viewed as law and is simply a rule of command that is separate from moral. Okay, Ronald Dworkin of the New York University, on the other hand, took the opposing view, where law is viewed as law as it ought to be, and it coincides closely with moral and principles. Okay. After a full investigation of the Hart-Dworkin debate, both Hart and Dworkin provide strong points to their position. However, Dworkin's simple theory and argument had a stronger case, which I believe explains the lack of principle in Hart's theory and how it is not useful when used to decide cases. The nature of legal theory for these two authors is very different in terms of their point and purpose of law and their point of views. They are on opposite end of the spectrum. Hart's theory of law is based on the legal positivism camp. As a legal positivist, he argues that law is general and descriptive. It is general because it is not restricted to a particular type of legal system or culture. Instead, this type of law gives an explanatory and clarifying account of law as a complex social and political institution with a rule-governed aspect. As a descriptive legal theory, it tries to explain what is the law, its purpose, and repercussion. It is very moral, neutral, and no justificatory aim, and it does not try to justify the laws from form and structure. Okay. Hart's previous article, Positivism and the Separation of Law and Morals, all right, says that law is separate from moral and there is no relationship between law and moral. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, Dworkin's legal theory, or jurisprudence, is as Dworkin usually calls it, is located on the neutral camp, neutral law camp. Okay, his legal theory rejects descriptive and general legal theory, and describes this type of theory as misguided or at best simply useless. In order for legal theory to be useful, it has to be interpretive. His theory is useful because it is committed to the elaboration of the comparative merit of three different accounts of the way in which we justify coercion, conventionalism, legal pragmatism, and law as integrity. This legal theory is radically different from the Hart's legal theory in that it focuses more on the evaluation and justification aspect of the law rather than focusing on the descriptive and general aspect of the law. I mean, one point that Dworkin's legal theory touches on, and where Hart legal theory fails to discuss, was the point of purpose of the law in legal practices. Dworkin claims that the purpose of law was to justify coercion. If people were not acting within social norms, the law would coerce people to follow the social norm. Hart's theory is different from Dworkin in that it makes no attempt to identify the point or purpose of law. In response to Dworkin, Hart wrote that he does not share Dworkin's view that the purpose of law is to justify the use of coercion, but rather it serves as a guide to human conduct and standard of criticism of such conduct. Alright, there will be no use of force to influence people from acting outside the social norm. Dworkin's theory is different from Hart's theory in that it takes an internal point of view rather than external point of view. Dworkin's main argument is that legal theory must have an internal perspective on the law and view the legal system from an insider's point of view. It is clear that descriptive theory cannot provide sufficient explanation of this internal perspective because they hold point of views of external observer and not a participant. Now, even though Dworkin's perspectives or perceive Hart to have an external point of view of the law, Hart doesn't share nor does he endorse the insider's internal point of view, nor in any way surrender his perspective stance. Okay, so Hart legal theory takes a perspective stance, descriptive stance, right? While at the same time taking a part of a system's law as seen from the internal point of view. In criticizing Hart's legal theory, Dworkin has grossly mistaken Hart's view of legal positivism in three ways. Okay, the first, external view; second, plain fact positivism; and third, conformity to moral. First, Dworkin falsely ruled that Hart's descriptive and general legal theory is not useful because it takes an external point of view. However, in his defense, Hart describes that there is nothing in the project of a descriptive jurisprudence, as exemplified in my book, to preclude a non-participant external observer from describing the way in which participants view the law from such an internal point of view. Dworkin did not take into account that the prospective legal theory of a participant's internal view is possible. The other area where Dworkin has grossly mistaken Hart's theory is ascribing Hart's legal theory to be a form of plain fact positivism. Under Dworkin's legal theory, there are two conditions that must be met in order to have a useful legal system. The first one, the belief that the legal principle cannot be identified by their prodigy. Second, the belief that a rule of recognition can only provide prodigy criteria. According to Dworkin, a plain fact positivism described the rule of recognition as required that the criteria must consist of only of a historical fact. They consist of law depends on the question of plain historical fact and nothing more. These historical facts are fixed linguistic rules shared by judges, lawyers, which govern the use and so the meaning of the word law. Judges, lawyers, and everyone should be looking at the law as it is written. Thus, it is no wonder why Dworkin argues that the plain fact positivism have a weak legal system. Hart argued that this form of plain fact positivism is not in his doctrine. First, his theory is not a plain fact theory of positivism because amongst the criteria of law in the connection of values, Hart's doctrine, which has been used to develop municipal legal system, contains a rule of recognition specifying the criteria for the identification of laws. The mistake in Dworkin's doctrine is that Hart never based in this doctrine on the mistaken idea that it is part of the meaning of the word law, that there should be such a rule of recognition in all legal system, or on the ever more mistaken idea that if the criteria of the identification of the ground of law were controversial fixed law, would mean different things to different people. People using the law under Hart's legal theory would not be communicating, but rather just talking past each other. By putting Hart's legal theory in the same category of the plain fact positivism, Dworkin is basically suggesting that Hart's theory relies on the court to accept facts when forming the rules. Okay, well that's enough for now. I think I should talk to you more in part two. Okay, thank you.